Good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. I am broadcasting on Spirituality Gone Wild, my broadcast partner since day one. Today is show number 172. And hey, we're having a fun time here. But I'm also broadcasting on the American Gumption Facebook page and the American Gumption YouTube channel. So welcome to Wednesday, May 12th. All righty. Yeah, so I said today's show number 172. I have a great guest today coming and joining us, Kathy Mason. And she has her business is masonworksmarketing.com. I'll tell you all about that when she joins us. And but she's also the host of the Conscious Business Zone broadcast, kind of a podcast, kind of this kind of a show. I'm calling it a broadcast today because it's live, it's video, and it's also talk. So it's like a podcast, but it's really we're calling it a broadcast. Alrighty. So anyway, let me just tell you about what's happening, and then we'll get to Kathy at about 15 past the hour, and I've got a monologue coming up. My monologue is called Lone Wolves. Lone wolves. And we're going to talk about wolf packs, and it's going to tee up what Kathy's going to talk about. So, and I'm going to take you on a trip to Yellowstone Park from 2012 when I went and saw the wolf packs of Yellowstone Park. So anyway, that's coming up in just a minute. Let me tell you about what is going to happen the next couple of days, though, first. So on Thursday, tomorrow, Shani Alvarez joins the American Gumption Morning Show, and she is the author of a book, We Are One. And basically this book is her, what is it? Her story, her journey, her manifesto. It's about what it is all about is her journey on and becoming fearless and living a fearless life, a fear-free life. And so Shani will join us, and her book again is We Are One. So that's going to be tomorrow. On Friday, Diana Dameron returns to the American Gumption Morning Show. She hasn't been here for about 6 months. She was a guest. I have to look up the date. I still don't know it. But it was back in, I think, October. But anyway, Diana works with organizations who have some type of a toxic environment that they need some help in. Her specialty is going in and working with people. And one of the tools that she uses is the disc profile. So she is going to she's going to share live on air what my disc profile is. And so that will be coming up. And I've got a fair idea. I don't know what this particular disc profile will show and reveal, but I have taken the disc profile a couple of times over the years, and so I have an idea of, I have an idea of what it's going to be. So we'll find out. We'll find out together. So that's on Friday, the disc profile and the assessment that I took. Actually, I took it a couple of months ago, and we're just now getting around to being able to actually get her scheduled and go through that. So that's on Friday coming up. All right. So Shani Alvarez tomorrow, Diana Dameron on Friday. All righty. So I mentioned Kathy will be joining us in just about 5 or 10 minutes after I get done my little monologue. We'll say 10 minutes just because I never have a short monologue. All righty. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into that, the monologue. So yeah, I'm calling it the Lone Wolves. And, follow along with me. I've got an idea on where this is going to go. I'm going to do a little screen share here, and I've got a little slide, some videos of, there we go. So we can turn off the title there, and we'll just allow the slides to play through. All righty. So the Lone Wolf. So yeah, I ended up back in 2012. I went to Yellowstone Park with a friend, John Williams, and John was a videographer, and he was doing a report on the wolves, of specifically actually wolves in the Northwest, but he drugged me along to go see the wolves in Yellowstone Park, and we ended up interviewing a couple of people who were experts in wolves, and we ended up getting up bright and early and going out and seeing the wolves. And there is a whole little community of people who follow along the wolves of Yellowstone, and they they have like a chatter box that you can get on and you can listen to, and they say, oh, wolves are spotted over on this spot, mile marker, X such and such on a road, and a whole caravan of different cars are heading down there, and they're always spotting. They got their long binoculars and monoculars or periscopes or whatever they use to spot these things. And so anyway, these wolves live in Yellowstone Park. And I didn't know a whole lot about wolves at the time, and certainly about the way the way they live their life. But basically what the wolves do is they go and they hunt for food. And this was probably some kind of I don't know what it was, a buffalo or a elk or deer or whatever, but they all go in there and they hunt in a pack, and they get their food, and you can see there's some ravens on the kill also. And it's very interesting the way the wolves work is they all take turns. Well, they all work together in a pack, and they all will surround whatever their prey is, and they pick off a weaker animal somewhere, and then they ended up, and this is the way they survive, and they get their meals. And so, but then once the kill has been made, they really take turns in coming in. And so the alpha male, the alpha female, they get to eat first, and then the other wolves. And they have a very strict hierarchy where there's like, I'm going to call it like lieutenants and, different roles that they all play. And they all kind of know their role within the pact, and they all kind of follow that. And of course, this is all determined, by, being who's the toughest one and who's the most vicious one. And so if you're like a meek and mild wolf, you probably are not going to be the one that's in charge. But anyway, it was just kind of fascinating going out there and seeing that and hanging out with John and these other people. We just took some pictures. It was early morning and the sun was barely coming up. And this was a great silhouette shot of a couple of the wolves that were just, there. And here's one of the wolves taking a drink of water. This is probably right in that same spot where that kill had been made. Now, this particular picture has 3 wolves in it. You can see one, kind of a darker one over to the left, and then there's right in the middle. There's one of the gray wolves, and then another gray wolf that's over to the right. And again, they're all in that area where the kill had been made. And then these might be the two that we saw howling in the silhouette earlier. And you can see a collar on the black one. Well, all these wolves have collars. Basically the people of the Park Service will tranquilize a wolf, and then they'll put a collar on him or her, and then they'll be able to monitor and follow along with it. And as I said, there's a whole ecosystem of people following around the wolves, and the wolves have numbers. Maybe they have names, but for the most part, they have numbers, and their numbers correlate to the different packs that they're in. And when I was there back in 2012, in Yellowstone, there was probably 7 or 8 different wolf packs. And the wolf packs, like from year to year to year, they will rise up and be stronger packs. And then they'll kind of, they'll end up having a battle with another wolf pack, and, they'll end up, dropping off the pecking order, and wolves will change and move from pack to pack. If you're a wolf and you're whatever your job is and you're in the pack, and if you're not getting treated fairly, you have the option of leaving the pack. And sometimes you get run off, and sometimes maybe you go, hey, I don't like hanging out with these people, and I go somewhere else. So anyway, it's just it was just sort of interesting and fascinating for me to go through. Now, what's interesting also about this wolf pack story here, I'll change my screen. Let's put me in a slightly larger position here. There we go. Even though I didn't know much about the wolf packs at the time that I went out there and visited Yellowstone and learned a lot from this little visit, I had probably almost 20 years earlier, had my own connection with wolves or coyotes. We'll call it wolves or coyote dogs. I ended up becoming an independent contractor, working with this small group of people, and I was selling custom clothing, men's made to measure suits and shirts and that sort of thing. And so anyway, it was a commission only job. And, you basically had like a little tiny bit of structure in terms of I was with this group that was doing it, but basically you just went out and found your own customers, and you made your own business, and you were pretty much a lone wolf, even though there was a little bit of a pack. And a friend of mine, Keith, who was working with me at the time, and Keith would also moonlight. He had a second job, and he would sell these neon lights, and he would go out at night and set up on the side of the road these like a little generator and the neon lights, and they were like kind of artwork, neon. Anyway, I ended up getting a moon doggy. He called it the moon doggy, but what it was a coyote howling at the moon. And that became my symbol. And I kind of thought of myself as the moon doggy, or the lone wolf. I was a single man. I still am a single man, but I was working in this environment where I was really on my own. And previous to that, I had worked in companies where you got a paycheck, and I opted and went to the role where I thought, hey, I'm going to go ahead and, I'd rather be on my own. And so I became like the lone wolf. And so this moon doggy, this neon of the coyote shadowing the coyote howling at the moon, became kind of my symbol. And I still have, I don't have it anymore, but I have it. I know where it is, and I can go back and pick it up at some point in the future. It's resting in Montana at a friend's. But anyway, this neon became my symbol, and I carted it around for the next, 20, 25 years. And it was my nightlight in the last house that I lived in. It always just was up there on top of a shelf, and it just provided a little bit of a light throughout the house. And so if you woke up in the middle of the night and you walked around, there was always enough light that you aren't going to stumble and crash into something. So anyway, the moon doggy was my symbol for myself, where I took quite a bit of pride in being like the lone wolf and working alone. Alrighty. And then I became Forrest Gump. I sat on the bench. That didn't change anything for me, because I was like out there by myself sitting there. I wasn't there by myself because there was hundreds of people coming up and visiting every day. But I was like an island out there on the bench, just talking to people. And so the moon doggy, the lone wolf mentality still fit in with my lifestyle, because even though I was part of the much bigger Bubba Gump restaurant organization, there was only one Forrest Gump, and I was out there talking to the people, and everybody else was either a manager or a server or a cook or whatever job they had in the restaurant, but mine was one of entertaining. So anyway, I was I was still kind of that lone wolf mentality all the 15 years that I was Forrest Gump. So now I become a speaker, and I'm living in Montana. Well, I moved to Montana. Talk about becoming a lone wolf, right? I go out and live in a town of 10,000 people for the next 10 years. Living about 7 miles from town on a dead end road, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And, but I loved it. And it was a great time for me. And that continued, that whole lone wolf mentality. As it came to the end of 2018, 2019, I went, I got to go back out into the world. I got to reconnect. And so I, at that point, decided that I had to give up my lone wolf ways and would move on. So a few months ago, I ended up writing a blog post, and I referred to myself. I kind of told this whole story about the lone wolf, and really what it had to do was the idea that I was giving up the lone wolf ways that I had been living for the last 10, 20, 30 years, really. And so I thought, hey, the lone wolf is going to join the wolf pack. And what was the wolf pack? The wolf pack in the example that I wrote about and gave was that Spirituality Gone Wild. I joined with Spirituality Gone Wild when I became when I started this broadcast back in August, and have been part of them ever since. And what it is, it's a collection. Spirituality Gone Wild is a collection of lone wolves that are kind of packed together and supporting each other and cheering each other on, and that whole thing. And I wanted to share this morning because our guest, Kathy, she has been involved in the spiritual community for the last 20, 30, I don't know how long, 20 plus years, we'll just call it. And, she helps to bring people together and do different things. Now, she works with these lone wolves, but she also figures out how they can be part of the community. And her and I have had a couple of conversations about the idea that, there's a trend going on. There's something happening where, the internet made it possible for lone wolves to exist. You could create a business. But as things have evolved in the last, 10, 15 years, that lone wolf version of it is becoming more and more difficult to do. And so what's happening is these co-ops or these communities, these groups are coming together and they're forming, especially in the spiritual community, which we're both involved with. And these groups are offering products and services where there's many different teachers that can present their ideas and their thoughts and their courses. And so, the idea of joining a community, if you're someone seeking it, makes a lot of sense. And if you're someone who's, part of it teaching some type of spiritual work, then it makes sense to also be part of the community, because people want to learn from you and they want to learn from the next guy. And if you can get all of these things in one place, or you can get many different options in one place, then there's power to it. So Kathy and I will talk a little bit about that. That's really the whole story of the lone wolf. And there's the lone wolf over on the left-hand side, and the lone wolf joins the pack and becomes part of a group and a community. So, all righty. Well, that is my monologue for today. And gosh, I see Kathy's in the back room, ready to go. Let's go ahead and bring Kathy Mason and have her join us. Hello, Kathy Mason.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope my cat doesn't want to be on my lap, but
your cat doesn't want to be a lone cat. It wants to be part of the community.
Well, if you would have seen the photo of the wolves eating, she might not want to be. Yeah. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining. We've been flirting on doing this. This idea. Having our little. Our little. Interview and our meeting. We've met in person. I was out in Boulder, and I got to visit with you and Angie LaRue, and I was in the Boulder area, and so we got to know each other that way. But we've also gotten to know each other the last few months. Many of the guests who have been a guest here on the American Gumption show have been people that you introduced me to. So I'm glad to be part of your pact, because I get access to other people who are great guests and fun to join us. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So here's the way. Since you've not been a guest before, we have two rules. I don't think I told you. There's two rules here, Kathy. Rule number one is I get to read a bio and an intro of who you are, so that everybody knows.
Okay.
You're okay with that? You don't have any objections so far?
No, I'm cool with anything.
All right. And then number two rule is that there's a little theme song that I play, and it's called the First Time Guest theme song. So anytime a guest shows up for the very first time, I play this song. And the rule is that you have to play it the first time, and then you're never allowed to play it again. So it's all, if we have you back in a few months, you'll be one and only. So all righty. Well, let's go ahead and let me do this. I'll switch my screen. I'll put you in the big spot. There you are. And I'm going to read who you are. So Kathy Mason is an Amazon best-selling author, speaker, host of the show Conscious Business Zone, and an online sales specialist who works with conscious companies to help them grow. She is a psychic and intuitive and can see your soul mission and help you create that vision now. Yes, you work with people and helping them get clear. We'll talk about that in this interview for sure. Now, through her company, Mason Works Marketing, she lovingly supports her clients as a seasoned interactive strategy coach and implementer with a solid background in developing products and publicity across all digital platforms, including the internet, TV, mobile, in-store marketing, and the social networks. My goodness, it's a job and a half to keep up with all that stuff, isn't it, Kathy?
Yep.
All righty. So Kathy is a high energy cause marketing expert. I love that phrase, cause marketing expert, with over 20 years of expertise at rolling out cutting edge strategies for businesses building. Wait, I'm not reading that right. Let's see. Let's try it again. Kathy is a high energy cause marketing expert with over 20 years of expertise at rolling out cutting edge strategies for business building communications, implementation, training, and book or ebook publication. Yes. And you've helped another colleague and friend of ours just recently launched his book. So we'll get to that too. So Kathy Mason, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, here is the first time guest theme song. Are you ready?
Yes.
All righty. Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a broadcast, Kathy?
No, but I was a band mom when my daughter was in marching band.
All righty.
I almost wanted to go.
So you've heard a John Philip Sousa song or two over the years.
Yeah, she played saxophone. And then she played alto sax, which is almost as big as I am, and walked playing. Yeah, I don't know how people do that.
Well, I don't know that I've ever shared this on the morning show, but I played saxophone also in the marching band. So, yeah. So your daughter and I have something in common.
Well, you know what? When you were speaking with your slide presentation, I realized I owned a clothing store. So we have that in common also.
Yes. I didn't. It wasn't really like a storefront. There was no like real store. It was just like kind of a little office that we hung out in, and then you would go out to the in my case you'd go out to the people's businesses, and it was just kind of a made to measure thing. And anyway, so it was
we did that too. We had that when my clothing store. We you could buy it off the rack, or you could special order through manufacturers from Philadelphia. So it was real high end.
Wow. We probably ended up using some of the same kind of suppliers then who would make the product. So
yeah, it was not Hickey Freeman, but they were Philadelphia was where most of the manufacturers were. And there were boxes of fabrics that people could pick through. Yep. I did that for 16 years.
Wow. Yeah. I only did it for about 4.5 years. So
yeah. Well, I had a storefront. So it was a little easier.
And what so I did it in the early '90s, and really it was really at the shift where it was coming, more casual, and so things were changing and evolving. So it was one of those things that seemed like a great idea at the time, but then you go, wait a minute, this is not an expanding market.
Right, right,
Right.
right. Yeah, I did it from 78 to 94.
All righty.
And I had 10 employees. We did over $1 million a year
Wow.
business because it was men's and women's. But that was when women were entering the marketplace. So we had men's and women's suitings made by men's manufacturers. So
Right.
it's Brooks Brothers kind of.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah. So I got to ride the wave of the start of it, actually.
So you had a clothing store, but then and you were really good at marketing even, back then, and that's what made that business successful. You were more of a marketer at heart than a clothier, but clothing is what you were marketing. How did conscious business, conscious business zone, your broadcast, but more specifically, how did the idea of being a conscious business marketer come to be? When did you realize that that's what you needed to do? Because that wasn't what marketing was all about, the way they taught us in college.
I don't think I ever decided to do. I think I decided to be authentically who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that everything is based on relationships. And when you're authentically who you are, you can have authentic relationships. And people want to do business with people who are authentically real. That's how you build trust. And so all of it is, how do you communicate that? How do you communicate and create processes within your business that are designed to create trust and long-term relationship? So much of business is based on short-term relationship. But really, if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to live with high values, you create a conscious business, because you want to take care of the relationship and honor the relationship that you have with your customers as well as your employees or contractors.
So the elephant in the conscious business room style is that, oh gosh, if I'm going to be a conscious business person, I can't actually make money, and
No.
So how does someone do what is at their heart core, and yet also design the business so that it's sustainable and profitable, and delivering value, but also making a living and not just being a hobby for someone.
Well, I've never helped anyone build a hobby in 21 years. I think what it comes down to, honestly, is being very clear of what your gifts are, and then sharing it in a fair way. I mean, most of my clients want me to stay in business. They're not buying my services because I'm the cheapest. I don't think anyone can survive in any marketplace as the cheapest. They're buying it because they're the best, the most efficient. They don't have to worry that if something doesn't work, I'll make it work. That there's so much of the hit and miss mentality in business, especially service providers. And I'm shocked. I actually just don't see, that's not in my world. But right now I'm working with an author who's been taken advantage of by a past publisher. And I'm watching that going, wow. And then I texted one of my groups that is a publishing group that we're all in. And they said, oh, we could write a book about all of this. So it's not in my world, because I want to be able to see somebody on the street 20 years after they worked with me and still have a good feeling, because I want to love my customers. I want them to love me. It's a different way of being, really. And the money flows from that. It's not When you love what you're doing, it's not work anyway, it's a game.
Right.
And so the game is, how do I do this? And that gets to be fun. So, oh, that didn't work. I'll do this. And there's a lot of giggles, a lot of fun with it, a lot of growth with it. I find that even after doing this for 21 years, I'm still learning with every client.
Mm.
So, and that's the joy of it, actually.
You began your Conscious Business Zone broadcast, what, about 2 years ago? How did that come to be? So you're already like almost 20 years in the business, and then all of a sudden you went, hey, I'm gonna start doing my own show, and I'll have interviewing people. And I believe it's twice a week that you broadcast, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays at what, noon Eastern time, or 10 a.m. Mountain time where you live.
Right, right.
How did that come about?
Well, let's see, how do I explain this? Because I'm psychic and intuitive, I get downloads all the time. And usually I'm really clear about the downloads I get for everyone else, but not always for myself. So I had gotten the name Conscious Business Zone, and I had already gone to a numerologist to figure out the name and see if it had the right vibe. And of course it did, but I hadn't pulled the trigger. And I think I confided with you that I had a very, very bad breakup with somebody who had been living with me for 6 years. I thought we were going to get married, and he left me for somebody else. And so I had already gotten the numerology on Conscious Business Zone, and I really needed something to get me out of bed on Tuesdays and Thursdays and get to the office. So that's how it started. And I started because I had so many amazing customers that I had gotten on telesummits, or we had done big launches with their books. And I still wanted the world to know about them. So I knew I had a big social media presence that I could help them keep momentum going. And it got me off of my own stuff. And it was very healing process for me. And I still, I just had Leela and David Tressmer on last week. And I did a project with them 5-6 years ago, and haven't talked to them that much lately. But we were just still in love with each other when we did Conscious Business Zone last week. So I try to have that kind of relationship with people. So it was a joy for me to do that, and it was very healing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you shared the healing part of it, because a lot of times what we do in our professional lives, is like something we need to do, that connects right with our personal, in terms of, we do things for ourselves, even though we're doing it for others at the same time. And maybe that's what conscious business is all about, right? Taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others in a way that makes sense. So thank you for being just being open about that. Yeah. In the movie Forrest Gump, Forrest is sitting on the front porch, feeling sorry for himself because Jenny had left him, and he didn't know what to do. And we just see him like moping around the house, and he's just sitting there. And then he stands up and he just takes like a little bit of a step across, and then goes running across the front lawn, and then runs around. And I share that story all the time, because it's a way of taking action, getting moving, in order to kind of get you out of that funk or whatever happens. So yeah.
I think that's true. It's especially true right now, that there's so much chaos all around us. And if you have my recommendation to anyone listening to this, and especially you, Steve, go for your dream. Create something, co-create something right now. Put all that angst energy into something that leaves something good for yourself and others. And that's the best way to be. And that energy is powerful. Pain, anger, fear, that powerful energy can co-create worlds. So look at it, what it's done here with with the virus shutdown and everything. I mean, that is powerful.
You talked about getting downloads and being psychic and intuitive, and you said something that was really I can relate to. It's easy for you to see it for your clients. It's not always easy to see it for ourselves. This is why people need coaches. They need consultants. They need mentors to help them, because we can't always see what is like right in front of us, and yet it is right in front of us. So talk about, like, how do you go in and help someone, share that, like, because you don't want to create a vision for somebody. You want them to be able to articulate their own vision. What's that process like when you're working with someone?
Okay. Well, I would say that in most cases over this 21 years, I'm on my 21st year right now, a lot of my clients have found me because their soul has found me. That their soul has been tapping them on the shoulder, trying to show them an easier way to fulfill the mission that they suggested they wanted before they came into physical, and they're just not getting the memo. And so somehow people find me from all over the world. And but the first part of us working together, I usually test to see if this is mine to do, because I'm definitely in service to the divine. So if it's not mine to do, I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'll recommend somebody else. But if it is mine to do, then usually what happens, we'll open the Akashic records, and I do also a decree with Saint Germain. And usually I'm shown a video, a full color video of a timeline, a possible timeline with milestones for the person. And they flush it out completely. A lot of times it'll show the projects and the project's names. So the customer is here, the client is here, they want to be here, and they might be able to see that future possibility, but they don't know how to get there. So what's downloaded to me, and I personally am kind of off to the side where all this is happening. And I'm very grateful for having Zoom and other ways to record it, because I have to go back and look because it's their movie. But what happens is a lot of times it'll give us step by step what to do to get them. Like, let's say they're going to be on stage doing a TED talk, and they don't even have a website here. They don't have a concept. Then all of that detail comes in. And it's amazing. People start crying because it resonates. Or I had one doctor, he kept going, "What are you doing to me? What are you doing?" Rubbing his head. It was like, I'm not doing anything. I didn't even know he did that until I watched the video later. But so it's really you speaking to you through me translating this video footage, which of course is in my language. And then I'm given energy that allows that to land. So the energy, it's like this huge bubble, much bigger than a football. It's really about this big, that looks like those blow up bubbles. It's got the rainbow color in it. And it actually is the energy that creates those milestones on your way to your soul mission. So I'm entrusted to help you create those products and services and then infuse them. So, like, for instance, when we do a book or we do an online product, that energy, it's alchemic energy that's part from your soul, from the divine, is put into that product. So people actually hold the book and they feel it. They see the cover and it's intentionally amplified. They take a course and they get a video product, even a free download, and they're all part of that energy is put into it. So it's like your signature vibe, And this is only if people are authentic. I mean, if they're playing a role of teacher, guide, I know more than you do kind of role, it doesn't always work. They have to really want to serve at that high, authentic, honest level. And then that energy just, it can transform the audience.
I like the way you said that. My words, not yours. Like people almost get like a chill when you explain this, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is resonating, and this feels like the truth. And so, really, it's a higher power that you're connecting with to allow that to see it. Do people do do sometimes, like, do you ever miss the mark on like a detail or two? Do you kind of go back and forth with the people, or does it kind of come out, and how does that process work?
Well, what happens is that not everybody's as ready as I want them to be. Because as soon as I get it, I want to go make it. I love, did you ever see the X-Files?
Yes.
Okay, the end of the X-Files, there's this little girl that they say, I did that. Did you remember that little girl's voice? That's me. I love making stuff. And so as soon as I see those milestones, it's like, hey, let's go do it. So, and we've got the energy. But what happens is not everybody is through their fears of being seen. And that's mostly the journey that people have, is that can they really have what they are? Can they really have what they want? Our culture, we've been culturally trained to play nice and fit in and all of that. And maybe their superpower is quite unusual, and they're scared to let other people know. Although I got to tell you guys, everybody already knows. You think they don't, but they do.
Do you have a story that kind of even like amazed you and blew you away, where you connected with somebody and they just like you shared this vision and it resonated and they just went with it, and like something way bigger than both of you even imagined happened?
Oh, sure. So one of the times, I won't tell you who this is, but one of the times that I did a marketing plan. And again, we hook up and it's magical. A lot of times you're kind of out of time and space during it. And then when you come back down, you have to eat something almost. But we did a marketing plan for a Colorado company. And part of it was to get them on telesummits. And telesummits was before there was so much video. And their first telesummit, so I got them on probably 8 telesummits and then hooked them up with other people. Their first telesummit, they did $15,000 worth of business, which just kept growing. So it was hundreds of thousands. So when you come out of the gate like that, it just keeps multiplying because it can. Other ones, it started them on creating one of my friends who I just love her work. She works with empaths, and we were doing our plan, and it said that she would do 99 recordings her first year, and she kind of flipped out because that sounds like a lot. Well, lo and behold, the first maybe 2 months, she did 50 of them. And she's still using them. And the other thing that I want to say is that if people are healers or guides or energy workers or do any kind of energy work at all, that digital assets can keep being enhanced as the creator, if you intend that. As the creator grows and releases more of their obstacles and their obscurations to holding more light, their products can also change. So a product that was made 5 years ago could be more powerful right now.
Mhm.
It's really cool too. That's part of that big energy that it causes the transfer of the essence, because it's their soul energy. It's not my energy that's in this bubble. It's the divine in their soul.
One of the things, Kathy, that is happening with the American Gumption Morning Show as I continue and as it evolves is that, I started out with like a pretty simple vision, just to interview people, ordinary people doing kind of extraordinary things. So that was sort of the original vision. And tell happy stories, tell good stories that of people who are making a difference and uplifting. Because I think we get enough of the doom and gloom from other types of media that are out there. So I wanted to do that. Was really all my intention was. But what's happened is, and this relates to what you just said. The product evolves and grows, and probably about 2 months into it, I started doing the monologues right from the beginning, but about 2 months into it, like I realized that the monologue needed to not just be stuff that I was very comfortable with, but stuff that I needed to grow with each and every day. And so I've talked about the lone wolf before today. So in some ways, it's kind of the same monologue I did like a couple months ago, except that there's like a richness to it, or there's more depth to it, and it just keeps growing. And so I think that just showing up on a regular basis and putting your work out there is powerful, because you're never going to get it right, but you are going to continue to let it grow if you allow it to.
Yep. And I think that your example is the perfect example to explain leadership, because the current leadership model, or the model that I see in conscious business and in conscious communication, is your model where you're authentically you're sharing your unique perspective in a way that maybe others might be, they might have more courage. They may love themselves a little bit better. I mean, because a lot of this is a journey to self-love, isn't it? I mean, when you think about it, it really is.
I'm distracting myself looking at some comments. Joan of Angels checks in and gives you a nice little compliment.
Thank you.
And then we also have Nicole, right shoulder tap. That is my injury. I'm not sure what that means, but probably you do.
Oh, nope. Nope. But I'll be glad to send some energy there.
All righty. Very good. Very good. So it's interesting. And we need to get into the idea that, and this is how you and I started, these communities, people who are spiritual entrepreneurs, in many ways, they are lone wolves. They've kind of had to go inside of themselves in order to get, what their, that divine connection that they have. So they're very connected that way. But then turning that around and becoming a business person is a different skill set. And so there's some people that can become like that superstar in terms of creating a big list, a big following. And then there's lots and lots of others who are very good and very adequate at what they do. They're excellent spiritual guides, but they're maybe lacking on the business end of it. And so one of the business models that you and I have talked about is the fact that if these people can come together and form some kind of a co-op, there's power, there's more strength and power in that than there is in like 1,000, little kind of lone islands out there.
I think it's also the way to learn. Because when you go in, I mean, I believe that everything, your outside is created by your inside. And this time period that we've had during the lockdowns, it was a great opportunity to keep working on clearing everything that's your self shame and self-doubt and all of the things that you tell yourself that aren't really true. You can let them go. But then when you're with other people, that's when you can actually see more of your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It actually causes triggers or awarenesses of judgments that you didn't even realize you had, and you might not see if you were all alone. And I believe we're here to co-create. I think co-creation is a divine action. So us doing this, which is a dance of concepts, it's a way for us to both see how we could help each other. If we're in service to each other, that means that we've made a commitment to grow. And then when you get a group that's all in service to each other, just think of the things you can create. I mean, we can't even imagine what the new earth could be, or what could come out of these kind of communities that really are best served because people want to learn and grow. This isn't about just having stuff.
Yeah, I think having stuff is a very old model that is well, that served us for almost a century, right? So somewhere around the early 1900s, people began. Henry Ford's automobiles came in the early 1900s, 1910 or whenever, and so it was like that was like really the beginning of, oh, let's just have stuff. And cars are great, right? We all have cars, but we've gotten to the point where we almost have like all of the basics that we need. Everybody has the basics. And so now humanity is saying, hey, like, what's the real purpose of life? What's the real meaning of it? Because our basic needs have all, more or less been met. You can always have more. And I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I remember when 9/11 and George W. Bush said, people were like, hey, what can I do? How can I help? And he said, go out and buy stuff. And I was like it was such a tone deaf kind of, I mean, it was exactly perpetuating what had gotten us to where we were, but it was really kind of not like, it wasn't like the kind of answer that you needed to move forward with it. So now here we are 20 years after that, and we're like, you know what, we're rejecting that. We don't need more stuff. We need nice quality stuff, but we don't need more. And we do need answers, and people are now looking for learning. So turning to this, yeah.
Well, I would say that even if you went back even further, if you went back to feudal times,
Mm-hmm.
if you were a serf and you had a lord, or you had a king or a queen, and you lived within their realm, that whole environment was someone else had all the power and they protected you. And I think we're in a whole different mindset now. So we're talking about 1400s, 1300s, 1200s in Europe. And what we're in now is the evolution of the conscious human, because that human was only comfortable and felt safe being taken care of. Whereas this human that we're evolving into, that you and I met through a pretty high conscious group, is to develop a being that makes choices by what makes their heart sing. If they're working through this, not survival mode, a higher consciousness where they're working through their heart, then all of these relationships, that's why I brought up relationship. I see most leaders as servant leaders in the future rather than only bottom line, because that's still that feudal paradigm with a pyramid type structure, with the lord of the manor here and all the serfs down below. Well, we're in a circle now. We're in a circle, and that's what spirituality gone wild is. That's what unity earth is. I mean, you see so many of these beautiful organizations coming together. And I want to add one more thing before we go. I wanted to bring up cause marketing, because I think cause marketing is another way that people, if they want to have a conscious business, they could do good for the planet, good for themselves type business. And cause marketing was started in I think in 1984 by American Express, when they had used to have to pay $25 to get an American Express card. And what they did is they set it up that $5 of the $25 would go to refurbishing the Statue of Liberty.
Mm.
It was the most successful campaign they ever had, and they actually paid for refurbishing the Statue of Liberty from this process. It became a whole business model. And back, I guess, 15 years ago, I was introduced to it. And there's a group in Chicago that's a cause marketing group that used to have events once a year. And I just became so excited about it. Ben and Jerry's used it, Procter and Gamble. A lot of these large corporations, when you go in the grocery store and you might see a label on it that says this gives to breast cancer or to some other cause, they did all of this research and people bought the one that gave to the cause. If the same product side by side, one had packaging with the breast cancer sign and the other one didn't, the breast cancer one sold. So all of a sudden it became a whole model for the industry. So anyone can do that. Anyone can give a portion of their proceeds to a nonprofit like Sierra Club or whatever you consider your value, align with your values. But that's where we get more to when you're in a group and you all decide to plant trees or whatever it is, then that's another unifying principle that can be used to make these new models for communities.
In the last few minutes, just tell us a little bit about what you're working on these days, and I'll kind of leave it wide open in terms of what you want to share. But you've been involved in many different projects over the years, and just even since I've known you the last 4 or 5 months, I've seen you involved in multiple projects. But give people a little bit of a flavor of what it is that you are doing, and put in a plug for one or two of them.
Okay. Well, we're right now working on a summit for Spirituality Gone Wild. We created Spirituality Gone Wild Cafe, where because Debbie Garcia, who is the genius behind Spirituality Gone Wild, always has a show called Cup Grata. So we figured it was a cup in a cafe. I drink chai, but she drinks coffee. So, and the subtitle of this event is Creating the Spirit of Abundance. And right now there are 18 people that are participating, specialists, and all of them have a totally different gift that they share. They're all experts in their right. There's people from all around the globe in it. A lot of them are high-end authors and have beautiful platforms that they want to share. And then there's free gifts. And that site, as of last night, it wasn't working perfectly. I can give it to you, but it's not quite perfect right this second. But it's sgwcafe.com. And the event starts in a week or so. And so we're right in the middle of getting everything out there to everyone about it. I'm also working on 3 or 4 book projects with clients. And what we do with a book project is we actually do a marketing plan as well as the book. So the book isn't just a one-off offering. It actually helps people learn more about the client and want to work with them. So that I love that too. And authors right now, I feel there's a need for a lot of different leadership models, being addressed and a lot of people getting their gifts out. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of all of that, co-creating with people. We just, as you mentioned, we just got Saf Buxey's book out, and he right after that was given an honorary doctorate, and he's won award after award. And that's not even for the book; that's just for his incredible work in the world. So, I work. My mission is to help as many people wake up to their divinity, and I can't do it alone. So I have people like you that I help to have them, the more of us that can help people wake up to who they really are and share their gifts, the better.
Well, you've introduced me to many people who have been some of my favorite guests on the show, and I'm not going to name any of them right at the moment, but there's at least 10 different people that I feel like I've had as guests on this show as a direct result of you, and so it's fitting that we finally get a chance to have this public conversation. We've had private conversations before, but and that's kind of funny because we right away connected, privately in terms of like sharing information and having a certain amount of trust and energy that went back and forth. And yet, in the spirit of what I think both of us are doing, it didn't feel like, you didn't want to just jump on and promote yourself. You work behind the scenes to help others. And I love that. And the spirit of this show is even though I'm the common denominator in that I'm the host, it's always about trying to help the person who is the guest, shine and, let them be the star of each individual show. So anyway, I just appreciate what you're doing. I hope that you'll continue to funnel the star list of guests my way, because I sure appreciate it.
Well, I tag you whenever I can in my show. Again, it's called Conscious Business Zone, and it's on Kathy Mason Love is the Facebook page. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I've been so honored with the quality of people. And again, we could do another show just explaining all the funny things that happen when you do a show like this. But
well, let's do that. Well, if you stick around, we'll reschedule. We could even add that, but we'll definitely have you back. Now, what was the rule about the what was the one rule that the second time back? What happens that's different? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't get to hear the music again.
No, it's the marching band. But I love that your daughter played the saxophone and that you're familiar with John Philip Sousa. So.
Of course. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a delight, and it was fun meeting you in person.
Yeah, thank you. I loved coming to Boulder, and we'll be back again as soon as I get out on the road and I'm traveling. Boulder is going to be a favorite place to always stop by and visit. So, Thank you so much, Kathy. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much.
Whoops, that I wanted to put me, there I go. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put me, I was ready to turn the show over to Kathy and let her take over and finish it out. So, all righty. Well, that was Kathy Mason, masonworksmarketing.com. That's her website. Definitely, follow her, follow the Conscious Business Zone broadcast, which is on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern. All righty. Well, very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of here. Tomorrow I'll be back. Shani Alvarez is an author of the book We Are One, and she'll tell us all about that. It's basically her story of overcoming fear and stepping into her divine brilliance. And then on Friday, Diana Dameron will join us, and she's going to publicly share my disc profile and let everybody know how I function and operate. All righty. Well, that'll be a fun show. All righty. Well, have a great rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow.